When I get a lot going on in my head, I try to write it out and organize it and make sense of it. It helps me process it. I wrote some stuff down. Brandon had looked at it and he said, I think this material has the potential to help someone. I spent some time thinking on this, as this is very raw and very personal, and I've decided that if this will change one person's life, then it's worth it. I have benefited from others who've had the strength to share their struggles and what has helped them. I've decided to make a video since no one seems to read these days. I might jump around to get everything included, but it will all come together at the end. There's Bell's Let's Talk Day and mental health days for men and women of different professions. More and more emphasis is being put on mental health all the time. At the back of a Beef magazine, there are 12 different hotline numbers that a person can call. There are different fundraisers for different areas of the mental health topic. I'm choosing to talk about this topic today, as today is what is called a triggering day for me. Today is my 4th cancerversary. I acknowledge that everyone has their own dark days to get through, and I can only speak as to what I have dealt with. I have learned the importance of recognizing my cancerversary, what it means to me, and that I have to look after myself on October 30th. No one else is going to help me or know what this day means, even when I have tried to explain it. My first cancerversary, I did not want to acknowledge that day. A lot was still unknown, and I was not ready to acknowledge what this day meant and how it impacted me. So I successfully got drunk and ate a cheesecake. The last couple of years, I book a special day for me. Nobody else is going to do this for me. Nobody knows what it mentally takes to get through this day, and I have to look after me. With this being said, Brandon has contributed something to this day every year, as this day also impacts him. He's the one person who's been by my side fighting, and he is the only human that has seen the extent of the dark side of this disease and what it entails and how it has changed me. It's not just the day, it's the lead up to the day that is also challenging. This is a day that our lives forever changed. We were young, in our prime, perhaps a little naive, and full of ideas. We had goals and we were working in a direction. At the snap of the fingers, everything came to a screeching halt, and our lives came about keeping me alive. It did not matter what we had planned on October 31st, the week or the months that followed. Everything was put on hold, and our lives revolved around doctor schedules and the rules. This is one of the biggest things I struggle with regarding my cancer. It did not just screw up my life, it also directly affected Brandon's. If it had only thrown my life off track, I'd be able to handle that easier. But it affected his work schedule, what he had planned with his personal goals, and he had to take time to look after me. The night of October 29th, 2017 was the last night that I laid my head down on my pillow in a world that became known as before cancer. On October 30th of 2017, Brandon and I would meet with an incredible doctor that was very black and white and informed us of exactly what we were dealing with. I can walk you to the exact exam room. I remember where I sat, where Brandon sat, and I can replay every second of that appointment. We had limited options available to us, and we were on a very tight time frame. We were told to go home for a day, talk to family, and to be back for my first treatment of chemo on November 1st. Having to tell people and their reactions are something that I'll never forget for as long as I breathe. I can replay those moments in exact detail. What people were wearing, details about where they were, the responses. Everyone was geared up for Halloween at that point in time. We were upfront with what my diagnosis was and that I was starting treatment immediately. We chose not to disclose my statistical prognosis as I was not prepared to handle the backlash of people knowing this information. And honestly, in my head, I wasn't ready to accept it. Some say that as patients, we have more time to digest this information before we go and share it, and to be aware of this when we're sharing this information. We had a 4-hour head start, so not that much. I have since had it explained to me that when I got my diagnosis, which in a way was a relief as I was so bloody sick, and I finally knew what I had to fight, I went into survival mode, fight mode. My body and mind picked up what was essential to survival, and that was my priority thoughts and actions. As time has gone on and my body has left survival mode, I am now having to process the emotional and mental part of everything. When things happened, it's not that I did not realize that they were happening, it's that my mind and body did not have it as a priority to address at that point in time. My mama raised me to have manners. Manners were always a big thing to her from the time you're a young kid. And as I look back at certain incidences relating to my fight, I think she taught them to me a little too well. Brandon and I had stopped to tell somebody about my diagnosis, and immediately after I explained what I was dealing with, this person asked something of me. They put something on me that had an expiration date, and I wish that had never happened. One, it felt like they were trying to get one last thing out of me. Two, I had no clue what my next 24 hours were going to consist of, let alone being able to commit to a future event. Three, I had this hanging over me every step of my fight. I had asked several times for this pressure to be removed, and my ask was not respected until a few months into my fight when I was having more trouble and I had to take a tough stance, which I should not have had to have done at that time in my life. If I had bad manners, I guess I would have dealt with it sooner and in a different mannerism. Brandon's and I's life was put on pause. We could not forward plan, and this is a really, really hard place to be. Our group of peers were all continuing on with their lives and making plans. And they were celebrating many firsts. Their first kids, their first days of schools, dance, hockey, etc. And we were doing everything that we could to make sure that we were not celebrating our last together. On November 1st in the morning, I had a lot of tests. I passed out during a breathing test, and to this day I have no idea why they made me do that test. I then went to my first chemo, which was 4 hours. I can take you to the chair I was in. I remember where it was. I remember my nurses' names, conversations. I remember everything about that appointment. As we were wrapping up, I made the comment to Brandon, let's get going. Hopefully we can be most of the way home, which is a 4-hour drive, before the effects really start to hit me. And I remember the look of confusion on the nurse's face and her checking my chart and her going, you're not going home. I was put up into the ICU. In a matter of 72 hours, everything Brandon and I were comfortable with had been flipped. We'd had a tremendous amount of information thrown at us. We were trying to process all of this, be good patients. You're dealing with well-meaning texts and phone calls. And I was freaking sick. And we were dealing with a lot of unknowns, and we were processing so much information. And I just went through my first round of chemo. And I had to spend the night alone. They would not let Brandon stay with me. And I did not bring my teddy bear. And that was freaking hard. The thing is, when you're the sick person, you're doing everything you can to reassure everyone that you're okay. You feel like you can't give in to the panic and absolute terror that's consuming you because everyone will feed off of you. Mom was sending me pictures of the animals at home, and I really needed that. Serpine always makes me feel strong. To go backwards for a minute, we now know when that cancer was messing up my life. We can guess when it probably started in me. A demon I have to face through the quiet of the night is that no one believed me. I had been in and out of the hospital for a couple of years with concerns, but nothing was adding up or making sense. I'm a young, healthy female. I'm not a person that lies. I'm a person of my word. I'm not into wasting people's time. Pretty straight shooting. Every time I came from the doctor, there was some justifiable excuse. It was not until about 3 months before my diagnosis that the doctor finally started going, okay, there's something wrong here, and sending me for more tests. And I kick myself. I would not have let what was happening go on with one of my horses, and yet here I was taking it. I will never be able to explain what it felt like leading up to my diagnosis. It felt like I was drowning. No matter how many hours I worked, I could not catch up. I could not handle when I thought my workday was done and somebody would ask one more thing of me. I did not have it to give. I had trouble getting up and down the combine ladder. And when I went out of my way to suck it up, put on some clothes and some makeup and attend an event, only to hear that I wasn't there long enough, or when I miss some events due to literally not being able to breathe or move. By the time they found my cancer, my whole lymph system and blood system were shutting down and had moved to my organs. I had a 12.5 centimeter mass in my lungs and over 750 mils of fluid on my heart. I don't think you have to be a biology expert to understand the importance of those organs in keeping you alive. I was literally drowning. I was treading water and losing. We also now know how much chronic pain I was in for years before the cancer was found, and that affects a person's ability to function. I've always communicated with animals differently, and I've been exploring this more, especially after the last few years. But reading a mammal has some crossover universal language. When someone wants to know how I'm doing, but they can't look at me when I'm at my sickest point, it is nice of you to ask, but you're not ready to have the conversation. Manners dictate that you ask how someone is, and I get that. But I had to come up with a couple of standard answers to satisfy people, as very few are prepared to have the real conversation. And you can tell who has weathered their own storms in simply how they ask, "How are you?" As I look back at some of the things people said, again, Mom taught me manners. At this point, I don't think I should be asked, "Is chemo as bad as they say it is?" I don't know if this person had no connection to a cancer fight, felt comfortable asking me this, or if it's an age thing where cancer treatment's not known in young adults. There is talk of a drug crisis happening right now. If you went and set up a stand on the corner saying, "Come roll the dice, see what drug you get and have a free session of chemo," I don't think there'll be much of a lineup. To the people that went out of their way to contact me and talk about horses, cows, dog, agriculture, anything, thank you. That is the distraction I needed. Nobody can take my fight on for me, as so much time is spent in limbo as you have to give time for the drugs to do their job. I had one person take initiative to find out what the rules were and everything it entails to come a company during a chemo. And they did not put anything extra on me to do this. It was appreciated that they took the time to come and distract me, and more so that I had nothing to do with it. During the height of treatment, I'm not in a position to answer questions about where to park, what are the fees, what you can bring, what can and can't wear, what you can and can't have for smells. So as a heads up, if you're going to try and spend time with someone in a hospital setting, do your own research or talk to their caregiver, but do not add to the patient's plate. My head hurt, and it was hot, and it was really uncomfortable for me to have my head covered. And yet next to no one could look me in the eye and have a conversation with me unless my head was covered. I had someone point out to me that I should not be worrying about making people comfortable while I'm in the situation I was in. Again, manners. Losing my hair did not bother me. Not having eyelashes was a little weird, but it's nice when you're going through hell and you don't have to worry about shaving. Believe it or not, I did not go and get cancer on purpose. So I'm sorry if I could not attend your personal event. And no, you cannot come into my safe place with your runny nose and cough. I thought you said you cared about me. And yet I'm made to feel like the bad person for doing what I have to keep me safe. The one thing that I do hope that comes out of this COVID situation is that people have more respect for personal boundaries around someone not feeling good. When COVID first hit and the quarantine rules came in, it was very interesting to Brandon and I, watching people and their reactions. To us, it was nothing. We'd already been forced to live that lifestyle. And no, you cannot blame me or my cancer for your personal problems. Only I get to do that. When I started treatment, I had no immune system. My numbers were not registering, and I had to be extremely careful. If I would have picked up a bug, it would have changed my treatment schedule, and we could not afford that. Christmas of 2017, Brandon and I were spending it together, hoping it would not be our last. Brandon's family from south of the border were coming up, and that's always a fun time. And we were disappointed that we were not going to get to spend time with them and partake in the shenanigans. They went out of their way to include us in a safe mannerism and to let us know what they were thinking of us, and it meant the world to us. I will never forget the time that they took to take the time to think of us, and they set Brandon up with a prank. I've been living my life around scans. What the scan shows dictates what direction my life goes. Brandon and I are limited to making forward plans in 6-month, maybe a year intervals. I challenge you. You stop, think, and try that. Only make plans for 6 months. It's been incredibly frustrating trying to progress in pause mode. What we call futuristic planning has a different meaning to us. The 20-year plans, not so much. And I've been saying we're averaging being behind in life 5 to 6 years. And that's the simple truth. We were finally able to host a jackpot, and we wanted to do this for a few years. Jackpot was good, but we absolutely treasured the time spent afterwards visiting with everyone. As you're coming out of treatment, you are so desperate to try and regain a level of normal, or to return what your comforts are and prove that you can still do it. Looking back, I really owe the people that took the time to say, Meagan, don't worry about it. Right now you need to focus on you. Meagan, you will get back at it, but do not overdo it. Or, it's not about me right now, slow down. As I was trying to get my feet back under me, I definitely overextended myself, and it wasn't appreciated or acknowledged. I guess when you're not the one living with it, you don't recognize it. I had someone approach me, and I'm going to restate that. I had someone approach me, asking about some of the side effects I was dealing with. They seemed to have an escalated understanding of what I could be dealing with, and I decided to level with this person. They had asked. Now, normally I would have changed the topic, but this was something that was weighing on me pretty heavily, and this person made themselves available, and I thought they could be trusted. I literally shared a piece of my soul. This person cried for me and promised to help me. I interpreted that as I would have someone to discuss information with as I learned and progressed through treatment, that maybe they'd be able to help me do some research or give me a direction to go for information, and that they'd be available after appointments just to hear me out as I tried to process everything. It had taken a lot for me to speak out about the situation, to think I could trust someone to help me and to share what was so hugely weighing me down. And I was ghosted. Over 3 years ago, and I have heard nothing. I bared my soul and I was left. If I had gone to them, I could reason that I had forced my situation onto them and they weren't ready to hear it. But I hadn't. And here's where I have a problem with mental health situations. The last few years, a lot of work has been done to bring awareness to the situation, and this is important. The common theme is find someone to talk to. Share what's causing you so much conflict. Go to a trusted source. Then what? I think more information needs to be out there of what to do if someone comes to you saying they're struggling. When someone comes to you and says, I'm having trouble, it's a really, really bad idea to never check in on them again. If you are uncomfortable with the topic or feeling over your head, then come back and say, I don't think I'm the right person to help you, but I'll help you find someone. Should there not be a basic human decency? I could not imagine having someone share something so personal, private, being vulnerable, and never checking in on them again. And this situation has caused me a lot of hang-ups. I'm not a person that asks for help for easily. I don't trust easily. And what this did was make it so I didn't want to talk about anything to anyone, as I could not handle speaking about something so close to my heart and having someone shrug it off. I get to be a member of YACC, Young Adult Cancer Canada, and I would not be where I am or functioning at the level I am if I had not found this group. What you're not told or what you don't understand is that recovery is longer than treatment. When you break a bone, it heals, maybe do some physio, but you will get where you can use that broken whatever again. Every day for the rest of my life, I will be dealing with side effects. Now, I'd rather deal with side effects than the other option, but this is an added element that I have to contend with that most do not realize. Some people have been wonderful in trying to help me navigate this situation, and others have compounded the problem. Chemo brain fog, look it up. It's a real situation to deal with, and I will deal with it every day of my life, along with chemo fatigue. With chemo fatigue, unfortunately, a nap does not solve the problem. It's a whole body crash, and then the chemo brain gets worse. I used to be able to go ride through the calving cows, buy 10 calves, go back to the barn, write up every tag number, calf color, and gender. Now, I can be looking right at the cow's tag as I'm writing it, and I get the last 2 numbers reversed. Anytime we can't get a calf match, flip those last 2 digits on its tag and we're good to go. And it's very, very frustrating. I now have to have Brandon or Mom proofread a lot of stuff. I've become very OCD with lists. I have a list for everything. At the end of every day, I'm going through my phone to see if I've missed getting back to anyone. People who start in the middle of a story, you've lost me. You might have told me to start at a prior date, but now as you're talking, I'm second guessing myself of, do I actually know the story? Throw me a bone when you start, like, hey, remember when we were talking about whatever? And this is going to greatly help both of us. I'm also constantly checking in if, does what I say make sense? I know I can trip up and confuse my words. Often what I think I've said is not what I've said, and constant being on edge and trying to catch this stuff absolutely wears me out. And when someone goes, yep, I got it, and they come back to me saying, so the other day when you mentioned X, Y, or Z, this is tough. It's more beneficial if you bring it up at the time that it's happening. If there's music in the background when we're talking, that challenges me. Insomnia from treatment is a battle. My whole life before cancer, I was out the door before the sun was up. Now I have to try and work with my body and get some sleep at some point in time. My joints are having issues. This started before the cancer was found and has escalated since treatment. As soon as there's a chill in the air, I'm shutting down and dressing like a marshmallow early on in the year. I like warm beaches and pina coladas. Fear of reoccurrence and survivor's grief will be mental battles I have the rest of my life. I know what my statistical numbers are for reoccurrence. Certain smells and foods can no longer be around them as it instantly causes me to be sick. Being a member of YACC has let me feel normal, and that is one point I will advocate. If you're having trouble, find your group. Find the group you feel safe and comfortable to tell your biggest fear. And when someone goes, oh, I've been there, or oh, I can match that, you're in the right place. YACC has let me know that I am where I need to be with what I'm having to get through. There are members that are ahead of me in recovery, and they are an inspiration to keep going and to figure this out as I get my feet under me. And I also hope to be there and help those that are trying to figure their spots out. Sometimes we just need a place to vent. Being a YA with cancer is a difficult place to navigate. The one thing we discuss is that those around us are not going to know or learn if we do not have the ability to talk about what our challenges are. And I guess this is also what this video is about. I won't get the support and help I need from those around me if they do not understand what is needed or what I'm actually going through. It is incredibly uplifting to go into YACC some nights feeling so low, beat up, and frustrated. It doesn't take long talking with peers to be laughing, have a different perspective on a situation, and feel uplifted. Like, okay, I'm ready to take on the next challenge. I'm really not sure how to put across what this group means to me, how they've helped me, and I highly recommend if you know any YA with a cancer diagnosis, does not matter what's cancer or what stage, have them look into YACC. It's an incredible source of information and support. I learned you can submit for your medical history, and I decided to submit for mine. Let me tell you, it's a good thing I waited until this year to do it. I would not have been able to handle what I was reading any sooner. 4 weeks before I was diagnosed, I had a doctor give me a clean bill of health. He recommended I change my eating habits. He asked me how long I'd been a vegan. You know how fast that flipped me? And obviously my answer was not taken into consideration. In 2 weeks, I'd be cured if I changed my eating habits. If I would have listened to him, I would be dead. I could not walk up a flight of stairs. I was coughing until I passed out. I was sleeping sitting up in a chair. I was absolutely drenching the covers in sweat. My resting heart rate was 160, but I was given a clean bill of health. Reading the details of when they drained my heart is frustrating and confusing and in a really sad way. I lived it from my side, but to see the write-up from the medical perspective? Since completing active treatment, I've been living from scan to scan and my check-ins with my oncologist. These appointments are booked a long way out. I know the date of them, but I've had to stop saying when the date is, as it takes me 7 to 10 days to get my results. Some people mean well by asking every day if I have my results, but it doesn't help me. I have to live my life in limbo, wondering if I'm progressing forward, like another horse project, or am I going back into treatment? In the fall of 2020, I started finding lumps, and nothing will scare you faster or challenge your mental sanity than finding a lump. I knew I had a check-in with my oncologist coming up, and I decided to wait till I saw her and address it then. Keep in mind, I did not have lumps showing at a stage 4. At my check-in, it was decided to wait until my scan in May to see if this was an area of concern, and it would keep my scans on a comparable schedule. You want to talk about being in a personal hell? How do you plan anything? You're constantly checking for more lumps, and here's another demon that keeps me up through the quiet of the night. I was at an advanced stage 4 before I could get a diagnosis. What stops this disease from being in me a stage 1 or 2 and no one being any the wiser? I heard someone say something along the lines of keeping our secrets in is what makes us sick. It's not that I am keeping secrets in, it's what human do I trust. I'd already been ghosted. Where do I go with this information? Who will understand and help me and not add stress to my situation? It has taken an incredible team of doctors from a lot of different areas to keep me alive. A common feedback that I received from them all was on my mental strength and my pain tolerance. And I 100% credit my upbringing and lifestyle for giving me what I needed to get through the worst days of my cancer fight. I've had lots of practice with my back being against the wall and being in high stress situations. Calving of 2021 was a custom order season. It was beautiful. And I was back to feeling like I had my strength back. The calves weren't handing me my ass anymore. I had a team of 4 horses that I was riding down and it felt good. But I knew I had my scan coming up, and it takes a grip on you. It's all you can think of. The direction of your life is based on these results, and there is nothing you can do about it. I was physically sick. I could not keep food down. I was losing weight, which is a huge no-no. I was up all night in a sweat and a shiver and hugging the toilet. Keep in mind, I'd failed 3 scans before I got things turned around when I was in treatment. I have never had trouble preparing for a scan like I did this one. 1, the lump situation. 2, Brandon and I were going to be making some very definitive life decisions off of these results. 3, COVID had reflared and Brandon could not come into the hospital to help me. May was a very challenging month for me, trying to navigate a lot of doctor's appointments. Brandon and I had to make the toughest decision that we have had to make to date. And in the middle of all this, I got blindsided with a situation that I did not need to be dealing with. Someone who I thought had an understanding of my situation beyond disrespected me in my time. It was determined that the lumps I'm finding are a buildup of scar tissue from treatment in my lymph system, and for the rest of my life, they will probably be showing up. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Nightbird's song, It's Okay, but man, did that song ever hit home for me in the YACC community. I can relate to every line of that song, but her first verse goes, I moved to California in the summertime. I changed my name thinking that it would change my mind. I thought that all my problems, they would stay behind. I was a stick of dynamite and it was just a matter of time. I have felt that stick of dynamite many times. Spring of 2020, I was supposed to go south of the border to work with a horse trainer that I have long looked up to. I was so excited I got accepted into his program. And unfortunately, a slight global situation in my health has prevented me from being able to pursue this. But I needed to get away, and some days I still do. I love my home and everything it entails. And it's not what I need a break from. It's people. I can handle animals. There's no alternate agenda. It's very black and white. They're not capable of misleading or indecisiveness. If an animal does something, it's a reaction to what's happening in the exact moment. They're not capable of foreplanning. I am Meagan, but there's a before cancer me and an after cancer me. And it's hard to fit back into the swing of peopleisms. People expect me as I was, but I'm not. I still have a lot to offer, but in a very different format. And I very much know what my priorities are and where my time is going to be spent. Anyone that has met me since about 2015 really does not know a healthy me. When I look back as to who I was and what I could do in my early 20s, damn, I miss that girl. She was so full of ambition and dreams and endless amount of energy, ready to go take on anything and up for a fun time. I was fearless at that point. And I now have to accept that at 29, the prime of my life had passed me. I do not have the same time or the same quality of time available to me that I once did. They say time is the most precious gift you can give someone. I'm no longer giving my time to places or people that don't appreciate it. Skip the false promises and hollow words. I'm really not in a place for it. I was raised that if you gave your word, you followed through. And I've learned the hard way that apparently many don't stand behind their words anymore. For someone to say they care about you and that they love you and then they drop you, again, that's contributed to some sleepless nights. I did not choose this disease and everything it entails. And in all honesty, next to no one knows my whole story. So to judge me off of what you've seen, trust me, I've worked very hard to keep things behind a closed door. And now that I'm ready to take on some aspects of the after effects of this disease, I'm slowly opening the door. But I am going to share a secret with you. There is something incredibly freeing when you're told you're down to your last hours. I know what and who is important to me. At my absolute worst, I know who showed up for me. And let me tell you, it's crushing to think that you'll have people in your corner that choose not to be. But I've also witnessed some absolutely beautiful events. People that went out of their way to look me up and offer words of encouragement, new friendships that have been made, and to learn what I truly mean to some people is amazing. Never underestimate the power of words. I have some handwritten notes that people took the time to write me, and they are beautiful, uplifting, and empowering. It means the world to me that someone took the time to do that. I've also had people approach me to share their private stories, which I take very seriously, and I will never speak out about them. But to know that they were able to come over and share them has offered me strength. I had someone let me know that I was the reason they decided to go back and clear up a situation that happened over 20 years ago. It had been bothering them and how they felt afterwards. That's really impactful. The food that appeared in our freezer was so greatly appreciated, and it took a huge load off of not having to worry about Brandon. He had meals, he had food, he was good to go to work. And man, was that a treat to open the freezer lid and have an ice cream cake in there. When you are down to your last hours, it is your memories that you have to keep you company. And I clearly know what I want my memories to consist of. Brandon and I still have a big bucket list to keep checking off. There's a saying along the lines of, you do what you know, once you know better, you do better. After being a primary contenders in a fight against cancer, Brandon and I have very different life perspectives. I also hope my perspective will help you to do better when you go to help someone else through their struggles. My whole life, there's been good days, bad days, challenging days, as for any human. But for the first time, I had to realize how much I was being challenged, and that I had to get on top of it to work on my quality of life. And it was only up to me. No one else can solve my problems for me. It can offer input, direction, support. To everyone that asks, how am I? Everything I have explained is the answer I wish I had the time to give you, but no one has the time to hear this, and many are not prepared to hear it. Yes, mental health is a part of everyday life, or in agriculture, the seasons and weather. But crying mental health is not the full answer. There has to be more steps, and I think this is where more has to be done. How many of you are actually prepared and know what to do if someone comes to you saying they're struggling or they phone you in a crisis? Do you know what to do? I once looked someone dead in the eye and said, "I am not okay right now." And they turned and walked away from me. They later admitted that they simply did not know what to do. I know what I needed from them, and that was a really hard moment. However, I do think it's reflective of where most people are at if someone comes to them in a very serious situation. Over a year ago, I was having a really bad day, and I phoned 3 different people that I thought I could talk to, could help me through the situation. I took the first step. I reached out. And what? All 3 of them texted me back fairly quickly to let me know they were busy and they'd get back to me later. Problem 1, you just let me know you're busy. It already just took me how much courage to phone you. Now that I know you're busy, I won't phone again. Next problem, it's easy to mislead in a text. If one of those people would have picked up the phone and listened to me, they would have realized the situation I was in. Next problem, I don't reach out the next time I'm in trouble. Now, yes, I could have texted back saying, no, I'm in a pickle, I really need to talk to you. But I know they're busy. Those manners again. I grew up in a hockey household. Most recently, the big headline is that Carey Price has stepped back and chosen to enter the Players' Assistance Program. GM of the team was quoted as saying, "Today I'm not thinking of Carey Price, goaltender of the Montreal Canadiens, but Carey Price, the human being." Man, does that line just bug me. We're all human beings, and it seems what we do or don't do matters more than our souls. Why does it take people with global stardom to break down barriers? Why does it take Simone Biles, Clara Hughes, Carey Price for this subject to be talked about? Does it not matter what the average person does? These people are called professionals. With the decisions that they have made towards their mental health, is that not what you would expect from a professional? Are they not role modeling what the proper steps are to look after oneself? I was asked a while ago if I had grieved, and I was naively confused. I was alive. Grieving is defined as a deep sorrow, not necessarily a death. Each person has different standards and events that will bring them sorrow. Someone then pointed out the extent of the losses that Brandon and I have been dealing with, and it really shifted my perspective. We've lost our safety and comfort zone. We now deal with unknowns the rest of our lives. We've lost friendships and support systems. I lost a calving season, and to me this is huge. We were unable to go to the Seahawks game for Brandon's 30th birthday or Reba for my 30th birthday. We're out the time spent making memories on these trips. I had to live away from home for a month to do radiation. The priority of our life has changed, and in a way we had an innocence taken from us. We missed family gatherings and trips. I had to cancel getting Bellini bread, and we had several other major losses that I am not up for discussing. But you compile it all into a small time frame, and it adds up. And this is what I'm having to sort through as my body and mind has come down from a survival fight. During this time, at the age of 24, I lost my Mama Bells, and this really kicked my ass. I had her for 18 years. 18 years of being able to go to the pasture and have her soft eyes so full of wisdom, guide and support me. I would not be the person I am if I did not have that horse in my life. And I'm very fortunate to have 3 direct offspring and a grandbaby from her. But the horse-herd dynamics have shifted, and Peanut and I are still adjusting to not having her there. And this on top of everything else was a lot for me. Again, I am very grateful to YACC for helping me, as I now know how to read me better and what my triggers are. Are you aware that PTSD from cancer situations is a real thing? What happens when one of your triggers puts you into a panic attack? The first time I had something trigger me, I'm not even sure how to explain it. First off, it comes from nowhere, and you do not know how you're going to react. At first, you're not even aware what will send you. In all honesty, it's the closest and realest to a horse's natural reaction that I can think of, that instant fight or flight. I now look at how horses respond to situations in a very different perspective. And I also credit my time working with horses for being able to handle myself in situations. I know that it's okay to have off days, and I'm better at communicating this. For the first time in a while, I feel like I've done a lot of processing and I'm getting my feet under me. I have some big goals for an upcoming 5-year-old horse project that are definitely helping. But I feel content and okay, and this is progress. But most importantly, I know where to go when I'm having an off day, and I have an amazing support system available to me, which is huge. And I don't know what we do to deserve dogs. I really don't. Oreo's been with me for 13 years, and no one knows me better than she does. If she could speak English, she would have been able to tell the doctors years in advance what was wrong with me. She knows when we're having a spunky day, when we need a quiet day. She never pressures or demands. No, she demands her tummy rubs. But if it's too cold out for me, she'll stay in and keep me company. No explanation needed. She really is acting undercover, and I wish people learn how to treat others from dogs. I really do. There are days I have trouble getting myself up. Brandon's strong hands are always there to support me. Oreo's nearby to assist and encourage. Monroe has no patience for her day starting late because of me. So on days I am struggling, be it from the physical side effects or a mental challenge, I have a team to make sure I get after it. Again, this lifestyle helps you get up and going. Cows really don't care what your problem is. Feed them on time and leave them alone, and then you can go deal with your stuff. And Sir Peanut, it never matters how weak or sick I'm feeling. He always makes me feel so safe and strong. I know what I need to look after me. You need to find what you need to look after you. We are all individuals, and there is no cookie cutter recipe for this. I watched Fallon Taylor's Unfiltered series, and she continually talks about getting knocked down and having to find the what and the why to get up. I had someone tell me that life has really beaten me down. Yes, I've taken some punches. And as I get older, they are getting harder to continually get up from. I know why I want to keep getting up, but some days it's hard knowing another punch is coming. And I struggle when they come from people, as an animal does not have the ability to forethink and line me out like a human does. It has always amazed me how one word can bring a rural community together in minutes, and that word is fire. When word is out that there's a fire somewhere, everyone shows up with what they have to offer. Different kinds and amounts of water tanks, extinguishers, equipment. There's people bringing water for the fighters or food. There's no delegating. Everyone helps with what they can, and everyone automatically knows what to do. When someone has something along the mental health lines, no one knows what to do, what to bring, how to help. I hope progression is the day that someone goes, oh, man, I'm having a challenging day. And a conversation happens instead of a freeze. Brandon and I have had one couple available to us that we really appreciate. They take the time to hear us out as we've been processing and navigating. When we show up, they pour a couple of drinks, they let us chat, they offer what input they can, but they just let us go step by step. And we've really needed this and greatly appreciate their non-judgmental time. There's no playbook for getting through what we have to. Everything I have shared is from my perspective, and it's happened. I hope it can help others in navigating future situations. And if something I have said or done can help you or give you a direction or prevent situations, then I guess it was worth sharing more of my story. And if anyone ever needs kisses, Monroe has the sweetest kisses available. And I truly hope you can take something from my struggles, be it if you are struggling or if you have someone coming to you that is struggling. And when all else fails, find the Rebus song you need to explain or get you through your situation, because I promise there is one. Thank you for your time.